good morning. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Today, Governor Branstad and I are joined by Iowa Workforce Development Director Teresa Whalert as we celebrate the success of the Skilled Iowa Initiative 2 years after its launch in June of 2012. As the Governor and I travel to all 99 counties in Iowa, we often hear from business leaders and local economic development officials that there were good jobs available, but few applicants that really had the unique skill sets to fill those open positions. To address that need, Governor Branstad and I worked with Director Whalert and relevant stakeholders to launch what we call the Skilled Iowa Initiative. Stakeholders like Iowa businessman Bill Knapp and Mid-American Energy Senior Vice President and Chief Administration Officer Maureen Salmon. The initiative has many components. For example, there's a training component, there is a measurement and remediation that is offered to the individuals taking the NCRC testing. There are internships available, as well as many more components of the initiative. Skilled Iowa really is a win-win for both businesses and working Iowans. For businesses, Skilled Iowa provides the assurance that the employees have the right skill set that the business is looking for, and businesses can then reduce their turnover rate and training costs, and therefore increase productivity and achieve higher really employee morale. Businesses from across Iowa in all 99 counties recognize the NCRC, or National Career Readiness Certificate Program, as a fundamental skills measurement assessment. Over 10,000 Iowa businesses have signed on to the initiative, representing over 500,000 employment opportunities, and in addition to that, 45,000 Iowans have certified their skills. So that's pretty significant numbers for 2 years. These hardworking Iowans, through the Skilled Iowa Initiative, build their resumes, they demonstrate that they critical thinking abilities, and they increase their opportunities to land quality careers that match their skill sets. And the best part is the test for the NCRC can be taken at no charge, and it really sets them, once they've completed that, apart from other candidates. So now I would like to welcome to the podium Governor Branstad to give a few more details on the NCRC and Skilled Iowa Initiative. Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds, thank you very much. The Lieutenant Governor mentioned that Skilled Iowa has been a win-win for both business and hardworking Iowans. However, Iowa cities are also seeing the benefits of the Skilled Iowa Community Initiative. Our first Skilled Iowa community was Des Moines County. That was announced back in March of 2013. At that time, Des Moines County's unemployment rate was 6.4%. Now, with a skilled Iowa workforce standing ready to fill the high-quality jobs available in southeast Iowa, Des Moines County's unemployment is at 4.7%, a 26% decrease. The Skilled Iowa Initiative, coupled with jobs from the Iowa fertilizer plant, which is not too far south of Des Moines County, has helped not only Des Moines County, but neighboring county of Lee County, where it is associated near Weaver. When we took office, Lee County's unemployment rate was 10.9%. When we announced the first Skilled Iowa community, Lee County's rate was 7.8%. Today, Lee County's unemployment rate is 6.2%, a 28% decrease since Skilled Iowa community designation was awarded, and a 43% decrease since we took office. Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and I are proud of the progress we made in terms of job creation and economic development, but we know there's more work to be done. The Skilled Iowa Initiative, 2 years after its launch, is a valuable tool for Iowa workers, businesses, and communities. We hope to build on that success with our recently passed Iowa Apprenticeship Initiative and the Apprenticeship and Job Training Act, and of course the Home Base Iowa bill, which was signed on Memorial Day. We know that to continue to grow our economy and bring jobs to our state, we must have a top-notch workforce ready to meet the needs of growing businesses and industry. And now I'd like to welcome our Iowa Workforce Development Director, Teresa Whalert, to the podium to talk about the National Career Readiness Certificate.
Thank you, Governor. I'm just going to go through a little material.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our second year anniversary. You know, when we began the program, it was a program that most thought was unaccomplishable. And that is that we had a major Democrat and a major Republican together uniting, looking at ways that they could do positive things together for the state of Iowa. As we recovered from that recession, everybody knew that we had middle skills income gaps. We're no different than most of the nation, and I know many of you have heard this nationally, and Iowa is right in there, just like all the other states. But embedded within this initiative is actually measurement criteria, where we can actually see a distinctive change in what our state is doing what a lot of other states are doing. We're really focusing on three major areas: applied mathematics, reading for information, and searching for information. Now, I ask many groups this question, and I can tell you most groups get the answer incorrect. And so what do you suppose is the most difficult of those three areas for Iowans to achieve success? Any ideas? Well, the answer is searching for information. Searching for information, let me just give you an example of what that is like. Searching for information is, suppose you are a city manager for a day, and a new customer comes to your town, and they say, I live at the corner of A and B streets, and I'd like to build a garage in the back of my yard, but I don't know what the setback requirements are where I live. And of course, they're different throughout the city. And so the city manager, needs to first be able to look up and find out where A and B streets are so they understand where you live, and then take that piece of information and go to another chart or graph and apply that so they can then share with the customer, well, the setback requirements for your garage are thus and so for where you live in town. So that's an example of searching for information, being able to use information from one set of data and apply it to another set of data. Today, these skills, I think you'll find, are really providing the very basic foundation that people need for STEM jobs or for any career. Some people ask me, how many STEM companies do you think we have in the state of Iowa? And I say they all are. Because what company do you know in the state of Iowa that doesn't want employees who can think critically, who can solve problems? Every day you go to the office, there's some challenge you have there you weren't thinking about yesterday. We all have that happen to us. And these kinds of logical thinking proficiencies need to be developed over time. The most exciting thing about this past year has been two elements from my perspective in Skilled Iowa. The first element is that we've actually been able to move this into all 358 high schools, public high schools in the state of Iowa. Many private high schools, but our focus is on public high schools. So every single public high school from the grade of 9th grade on has the opportunity to walk their students through this process, to understand critical thinking skills, and actually for the teachers to understand what the expectation is for those students when they get out of high school, whether they go on to more formal education or not. So it doesn't matter if the subject is art or geography or science. They all apply critical thinking skills and logical thought processes to completion. So that's the first really exciting thing. And of course, people can take this more than once. So maybe you're upset because you didn't think your score was as what you wanted it to be for applied mathematics. You can go ahead and just take that module again if you'd like to after some tutorial. And many people have done that. The second thing I'm really proud of is the initiative has really expanded into internships, which is, of course, one of the major goals of Bill Now, in that people need to find work. And maybe it's not what they always thought it was. Maybe you've been an engineer for 25 years, and the company you work for doesn't have that defense contract anymore. And here you are looking for work. And so you look a lot for jobs that has the word engineering on it. But there are all sorts of other kinds of jobs that you qualify for and that you have the background for. And the internship programs allow people to, while they are still on unemployment, try out different types of jobs for up to 8 weeks. Doesn't have to be 8 weeks. It can be 1 week. It can be 8 weeks. It can be anything that the business defines as an internship. I wrote down quickly this morning some examples of where we have internships here in Iowa. Fire and steel, Iowa Steel Fabrication, IBM. We actually have tech jobs at IBM that are internships. Service companies like Holiday Inns or service providers, the healthcare industry, the construction industry, community colleges, Job Corps, the electrical industry, Goodwill, Mid-American Energy, Land Lakes Research Lab. So you can see it spans really every single economic sector that we have here in the state of Iowa. So we have over a 50% placement rate once somebody goes through an internship. And you know, there's always going to be the time that you think you really want that job, but once you go in there and look at it and work at it for 2 or 3 weeks, your opinion might be, I don't want to ever have to do that job for the rest of my life. And we have all gone through those kinds of opportunities. And so there is no penalty for businesses, and there is no penalty for interns either, should they decide that's really not a good fit for them. So I'm very excited about the last 2 years. We have 59 different areas who are trying right now to be measured to become a skilled Iowa community. So far we have 14. We got just 2 more this last go around, and several communities are very close. And the great thing for communities is they can then use that in their branding. So if they want to attract companies, they can demonstrate through metrics that yes, they do have a skilled workforce and they are ready to go to work. So just look forward to what we're going to do in year 3. That should be a lot of fun. But the challenge I'll give to each one of you is, why don't each one of you try taking the certification process? I know I have. I know everybody, nearly everybody in my organization have on the senior leadership team. So to really understand what we're talking about in today's world of work, if you were just starting out in today's world, there is no penalty. As long as you are an Iowa resident, you'll be able to go through this process at no cost at all. Thank you.
Teresa, thank you very much. We're very excited about the tremendous success we've seen for both individuals and for businesses, and the interest and the involvement of communities and schools in this. So respond to your questions on this subject.
Director, what was the certification that you took?
It's called the National Career Readiness Certification, or NCRC for short. It's a product of the ACT company in Iowa City. And so that makes it even greater because we're really working hard with an actual Iowa company to help us grow our own resource base with skills.
So that everybody should take this. Are the governor and lieutenant governor going to do this to see what they're qualified to do?
I think they're
I know what I'm qualified to do.
I was going to say
and I'm running for this office again. So, but I do think it's a great program. Other questions? I figured that question was coming. Other questions? On other subjects as well?
Governor, state of Missouri, we had a story of people this morning. They're considering a constitutional amendment to address this conflict of between farmers, and we had a story about this Sunday, farmers and people moving out into suburban areas. They're looking at a constitutional amendment on a right to farm. Is that something that you would support here in Iowa?
Well, I'm not familiar with the proposal that is the constitutional amendment proposed in Missouri. As you know, a constitutional amendment in Iowa is a very difficult process. It has to pass 2 general assemblies and a vote of the people. I will say I do have concern about some of the attacks on agriculture. We are involved in supporting actually the Attorney General of Missouri and several other states on the issue of eggs. Iowa is the leading egg producer, and the state of California is trying to impose restrictions on eggs coming in that are produced with cages less than a certain size. I think this is a clear violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause of the United States Constitution, which that's the reason why we went from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution, so that states couldn't put barriers up on commerce from other states. There's also the attack that we saw against lean, finely textured beef, which was based not on facts. It was just a smear campaign with no facts. And actually, the product is safer because the puff of ammonia kills E. coli and other bacteria. It's leaner, so it's better. It's healthier for you, and also it's cheaper than the other alternatives. And it's starting to make a comeback now, but lean, finely textured beef took a real hit from this anti-agriculture, and we've seen some of the attacks on GMO and other modern types of agriculture. So Iowa is an agricultural state. We are the leading producer of corn and soybeans and pork and eggs, and our cattle numbers are going up thanks to renewable energy and DDGs, the byproduct, which the oil industry fails to acknowledge or recognize that when you make ethanol, you also make DDGs, which is even better feed for cattle than just feeding them straight corn. So we do need to be vigilant in our defense of agriculture, and I believe that we can certainly coexist between modern agriculture and our citizens. We want to grow the economy and good jobs throughout the state of Iowa, and we need to be careful about these outside groups that have little knowledge of agriculture leveling attacks against an important economic driver of our state's economy.
So would you support any like legislation, right?
We have already taken some action. Remember, the legislation was passed, I believe, last year for people that gave false information in order to go on somebody's farm. So Iowa is an agricultural state, and we see a threat to agriculture. I intend to defend it, as I have the renewable fuel standard, as I have lean, finely textured beef. But we want to work with agriculture, but we also want to work with our citizens to make sure that our methods of production are safe, that we protect the environment and the quality of life for the citizens that live in rural Iowa as well. Well, it's going to be held in the 3rd District, I know that. And I think they've now settled it's going to be in Urbandale, but that's up to the Republican Central Committee, the Republican Party, to state its location. We have 5 very strong candidates that all came very close to each other, I think between 23 and 16%. I think they're all working very hard, and I intend to remain neutral on the nomination process, but want to work and do everything I can to unite the party to win this congressional district. We won this district with Congressman Latham last time. I believe we can win it again. I'm very concerned that the Democratic candidate was part of the problem in the Senate. She was there with Culver and voted for all the debt and excessive spending and bad budgeting practices. And also, she's been one of the most vicious negative campaigners. I'm a personal friend of Julian Garrett, and he was outspent 8-1, and she ran vicious negative attacks against him that were totally unwarranted. You know Julian to be, and I know him to be, a very mild-mannered, very fair individual. He is a lawyer, but I don't think that should be held against him. But she called him a shark and everything else, and I just think that's inappropriate. That's why we need to make sure that we have a strong Republican nominee out of the 3rd District, and I'll do all I can. I'm not going to take sides in the convention. I am going to work to try to unite the Republicans behind the eventual nominee.
Most of the campaigns wanted the 3rd District convention held on the same day as the state convention. Do you have any kind of about that?
Well, I understand that is a decision the party makes, And so the party has made this decision, and so, and I understand the, the convenience of trying to have it the same day, and I don't know the reasons or the details behind it, but this is a decision made by the party, and it's not something we had any voice in.
Question for you about the Supreme Court ruling Friday in the contract case. We spent, I think, something like $500,000 so far on the case. Is there an amount that is too much for that? And what's the public its benefit suing this case?
We can't comment on this because it's a matter in litigation. So I would refer you to George Lamarco, who's the attorney representing us. I think he's doing a very fine job.
Throw in an update on the complaint that's been filed against the Department.
The Department of Labor received a letter from Senator Dotzler and a letter from myself, and they are reviewing some processes, and they are in their due diligence.
Have you heard when they might do an investigation or when you're going to know happening?
Well, they have not opened an investigation, and I believe that they will take whatever time they need to go through what their due diligence requires them to take. I know there is no specific timeline that they are trying to meet.
Governor, last week, Director Phipps responded to House Republicans' questions on a variety of issues that Republicans on the oversight.
Right.
The Republican chair wasn't fully satisfied. It took a long time for those answers. Are you worried about your relationship with members of the House Oversight Committee?
No, not at all. In fact, I think Janet Phipps is doing a great job. First of all, she's got tremendous qualifications. She was a department head with General Services in Iowa before. She was director of management and budget for the state of Michigan. She went to, just let me finish the answer.
Well, you said this given the
Right, but I would also say, remember, a lot of demands were placed on her. She was briefly the legal counsel for the department. She's come in. I think she's hit the ground running. She's in the process of making changes to improve and strengthen her staff, and I believe that she's doing an outstanding job. I meet with her on a regular basis. She keeps me informed, and I think she is giving attention to all of these issues and matters before her. So I guess I feel confident that she'll be able to give the answers. They may not be the answers the legislators want, but I think she'll give honest and clear answers to their questions.
one of the concerns raised about the do not hire list, and that people do not find out that they may have been earned, may have that designation until they apply for another job in the state government. Are you going to change that process?
Well, there's an easy solution. There's an easy solution, and that is pass the legislation that we recommended that the House passed to make these personnel files public. The public has a right to know it, that information. And I think if that information is public knowledge, there's no need for those kind of lists, because then future employers can have the information, make judgment for themselves. I don't know what the Senate Democrats have to hide and why they're just unwilling to make this information public. They want to play gotcha politics instead of give the public all the information, all the facts on personnel matters. This is a loophole in our open records law that needs to be closed.
Why couldn't people, remembering this, or if people found out in the past when they were put on it, but during your administration it was changed where you don't find out until you apply for a job?
Well, I think there's a court decision that caused this to take place. So people have to abide by court decisions. Yes, sir.
How did Heffler get 17% against you? He wasn't even out.
Hey, that's the biggest win I've ever had in a primary.
But isn't that kind of a warning sign for your campaign?
Listen.
That quite a few Republicans are unhappy with you?
Well, 17% is not a landslide, I will say. I feel very good about the fact that we focused on the policy issues before the legislature and I worked diligently on that. I did not have a lot of time to campaign. However, since the primary election, we have been on the road and we have launched our campaign. I feel very good, both about the personal contact we made, 14 stops in
14
3
stops in
days,
3 days, yeah.
and we're going to be on the road considerably this week. A lot of it is actual part of our 99 county tour and responsibilities associated with the governor's office, but we will be making a few campaign appearances as well. I feel very good about it. I don't take anything for granted. I love Iowa, and nobody will ever work harder than I will, and I think we're positioned well for the general election. And, you know, my focus is always on serving all the people of Iowa, not just focused on a primary.
Leading up to the Senate primary, you know, the talk behind the scenes was that you were a Joni Ernst fan, and the governor was far out front on publicly, but privately you were a backer of her. Now that that's all said and done, is that true?
Well, first of all, I admire and respect her. She's a farm girl just like the lieutenant governor and me. We all grew up relatively poor, working hard, and recognized the importance of responsibility. I also respect the fact that she's a military veteran, and she led one of our National Guard units in Iraq, brought every one of her soldiers home. She's a conservative. She's frugal, responsible in her own life, as well as the way she managed public resources. She did a great job as county auditor. The lieutenant governor knows more about this than I do, but she was a great county official. I'll tell you what I told the people at 14 stops during the campaign. First thing I asked, when I asked Kim Reynolds, will you run with me as a candidate for lieutenant governor? And she said yes. And the second question is, do you have a good candidate to take your place in the Senate?
And I said yes.
And she, and she said Joni Ernst. And she said she would be absolutely the perfect one for that job. And she has, and she's done a great job. And I think she's run a great campaign. After all, when you're in a big field of 5 candidates, nobody's very well known. One of your opponents has millions of dollars that he's willing to spend of your own money, and you start from scratch with very little and build a solid campaign without a lot of resources, and then get the kind of broad-based endorsement she's got. You've got to respect and admire that. 56% of the vote when she was hoping to get a little over 35%. So I think she's run a great campaign. I think she's been gutty to come out and talk openly about castrating pigs, but a lot of us did this, so there's nothing wrong with that. It is certainly not mutilating animals, as certain Democrats have said. I believe that she's got some real momentum, and I think she's the kind of woman that we need in the United States Senate from the state of Iowa.
So were you behind her all?
No, I was neutral in this campaign. I just encouraged and gave my candid opinion as to her, but there were also many other good candidates. And listen, I have, and I want to tell you, Sam Clovis, I spoke to his class. I've been on KSCJ radio with him. He is a very bright, articulate guy, 25-year veteran. The other candidates were in that race as well. Jacobs, I mean, he hosted an event on education and has been a strong advocate for education reform in the state of Iowa. And of course, Matt Whittaker, federal district attorney, former football player for the University of Iowa, been a really strong advocate for the Republican Party. So you had a lot of really good candidates there. And I think Republicans were amazed that Joni Ernst emerged as the consensus front runner and got 56% of the vote.
Last question. Governor, have you castrated hogs, and Lieutenant Governor, have you castrated hogs as well?
Okay, I held the hogs while the veterinarian Jerry Jorgensen castrated them. And I'm going to tell you this. I got married. My wife grew up in Des Moines, and we were raising baby pigs in A-houses, and some of them got sick. I held the hogs, and she gave them shots. So we've done it.
Will that be a campaign commercial?
Yeah, probably not. Well, I have not, but after seeing the recognition and the name ID that you can get, I said I might have to think about it in the next 4 years. I didn't castrate hogs, but I do know how to skin a chicken, and I can do that pretty well. So anyway, that's part of growing up on a farm.
Thanks.
Thank you.